Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Hello and welcome to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Mac 6 Entrepreneurial Center right here in Tempe, Arizona, where we help build businesses and connect you with the right people. I'm very excited to introduce you to today, E-Squared Marketing, at least a couple of members of the team. We have Ashley Richards, who is the president and CEO, and Sherry Milia, hooray, account manager. I am thrilled to have you. You didn't have to come far. You both are living in the Valley. Thank you, and welcome to Phoenix Business Radio.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Ashley, we're going to start with you. You are the president and CEO, and I believe you founded the company. Am I right about that?
That is correct.
So how did you land in that opportunity and even have the desire to open your own company?
Yeah, great questions. I started in digital marketing 15 years ago. I like to call myself a digital dinosaur. I grew up with these platforms, everything social media, everything online. I remember having my MySpace, right? And setting the music and changing my photos. I've always loved this space. And in 2016, I was working as a director of marketing, loved what I did, but I had my first child. I had my daughter, and I was in that crossroads of, am I going to be a stay-at-home mom or am I going to be a working mom? And I just felt my heart tugging me both ways. I wanted both, but I didn't want to have an 8 to 5 if I didn't have to. So where could I meet in the middle? Where could I do both? And so I quit my job and I started doing consulting work on the side. So I was doing my consulting work with my newborn at home. I got pregnant again with my son, and I have 2 kids, both start with the letter E, and they're
perfect.
17 months apart. And so here I was with 2 kids and a business, so 3 babies essentially. Both were in diapers at the time, and it was a whirlwind time, but I loved it. I loved being able to do it at home. So I kept getting more referrals and more business. And finally, I have friends that also quit their careers to be home with their kids. And I said, hey, can you help? Like, I'd love to hire you. You're talented. You have experience in this field. And they both said, absolutely, we'd love to help, but we want to work from home too. Is that a possibility? Because we've got young kids at home. And I said, absolutely, I'm doing it. Why can't you? And so E-Squared Marketing was born, which is named after both my kids. And that's a big part of who we are still today, is that working mom. And that's a lot of who our team is today as well.
Okay, so with so many more questions, tell us about how you and Sherry got connected.
Yes. So Sherry, how about you talk about how we met?
Well, it seems like I've known Ashley forever. My story is very similar to Ashley's in that I'm a mom. I'm a mom of 3. I have a 7-year-old daughter and twin boys that are 10. And when I was pregnant with our twins, we did not realize that we were going to have a child with special needs. I come from the pharmaceutical sales world. I did sales and marketing for 10 years, then worked in the nonprofit world. Always really enjoyed just developing myself professionally and personally. But becoming a mom obviously became a huge part of my new journey. And I really didn't know what that meant. Having a son with special needs, I just didn't know what the journey would look like. We relocated here to Scottsdale from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I was born and raised. And I had quite a good network, but I really wanted to start over. I knew that we would be able to build a new network and a new community here. And that's how I met Ashley. Let's see, I started writing for a blog through Ashley. And I knew some of the other team members that were writing as well. And we all just kind of connected. You know how moms just kind of connect and you find what it is that makes you similar but makes you different. And I had that opportunity with Ashley to then share my story as a mom of special needs. And then from there, my opportunity to re-enter the career, the working world, came to fruition. I just really never knew that I would land where I am now. And almost 2 years later, I'm just so thankful that because of Ashley, my journey I'm on a path, and I'm very happy. My family's very fortunate.
And it sounds like a beautiful blend between, for both of you, honoring motherhood, of course, and in your case, probably being a voice, and I don't know about Ashley as well, but being a voice for other moms and parents with kiddos with special needs. And it all fits into this beautiful pie around what you're doing professionally for not only yourselves, but for other businesses as well.
Absolutely. I couldn't imagine a better synergy of of my experience, the community that I get to work with, and just developing myself. I think it's helped me become a better mom. Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And I'm leading my children in a way that they are seeing that mommy can do both. Mommy can be a good mom. Mom can be a good employee, a good coworker, a good community member. So I'm very, very happy.
So good. So either one of you can pop in, and that, Daryl kind of gave us the example of a coffee shop conversation. I would love to sit back and just listen to the two of you talk. So feel free to do that. And we've got plenty of time this morning. Tell us a little bit more about the agency. Who do you serve? Is it full scale? Tell us a little bit about the company itself.
Yeah. We primarily focus on digital. So social media is our bread and butter. We are strong on the content side of social media, although we do have a robust ad strategy for all of our clients. We feel strongly that we want to make sure that there's an active community, an active conversation, and that content is live on these social media platforms, right? We're keeping the social in social media.
Oh, what a novel idea.
And then we obviously have the ad strategy that goes along with it as well. So every single social platform we are on, we do e-newsletters, graphic design, brand development, and websites. So anything that you find online, we do. But really, most of our clients take advantage of us for the social media side of things. And so we serve a really robust client list. Half of our business are large shopping centers. So every large shopping center pretty much in the state of Arizona is ours. So we've got Fashion Square, Chandler Fashion Center, Arrowhead. And so if you look at their social media, all of those posts on their social media platforms is us.
That's impressive.
And if you ask a question on there, we respond on behalf of the center and have that conversation, because for you to really take advantage of these platforms, you have to be engaged and on these platforms. And these marketing managers and these directors don't have the time. I don't have the time to be on my own social.
I'm ready to give Daryl a microphone because he and my social media team handle it for us, because those are the same things I say. We have to be out there. It has to be engaging. It has to be personable. And yet, as the owner, I don't necessarily have time. So we've been trying to find that right way to how does Daryl and the team do it for me without losing that authenticity?
Yes. And it's in finding that voice. And we're really good at that now. And so we have the shopping center world, and then the other half of our business are all small to medium-sized businesses, which is really what we love to work with, and helping them find their digital footprint. And what does that look like? Who are you trying to reach? Who do you want to have conversations with? So it's been fun to see that evolve and help these businesses grow. We've got nonprofits, dentists, restaurants. I mean, it's a very broad book of business, but that's what we love about it, is they're all unique. And we find writers. Every client gets an account manager, and we try to find writers that have a history or a passion for that industry, because it really shows in their work that they love what they're doing. They love that type of client. So that's been fun to match that up as well. And it's been beautiful that I lead with motherhood when we meet with clients. I let them know our team is all working moms, and we're not an 8 to 5, but social media is not 8 to 5. So if your agency is 8 to 5, they're missing a lot of opportunities, because people are engaging online at night. They're engaging online on the weekend. And so we have a team that works 7 days a week, but it works for us. It works for moms, right? We have the ability to get online, work, go tend to our kids. We never miss a football game or a baseball game, or we've got a sick kiddo at home. I've never had a team member call in sick, because they can tend to their sick kids at home. And this has been our strategy well before the pandemic. So during COVID, we've been able to help mentor some of our clients that said, okay, now we're at home. How do you manage your team? How do you do
nice
this?
That you can step in and say, well, we've been doing it for quite a while. And offer that guidance around managing culture and expectations, right, while they're working from home. I bet you they loved having that unexpected benefit in being in business with you.
Yeah, and it's harder than you think to build a community and a culture and have this relationship with your team when you're not all in the same room. And so we're still adapting to that. We're still constantly making changes and figuring out ways that we can stay in that communication loop and build those relationships as colleagues. But we were definitely a lot farther than a lot of businesses who it was thrown on their lap during COVID. So it's been fun to watch that evolve.
And when Ashley brought me on, I didn't know what it was going to look like for me, being out of the workforce for so long, not knowing what my skill set really was. I lost touch with what were my strengths? And now as a mom, a busy mom of a child with special needs, how was I going to manage that part of my life without compromising my skills as a mom? I wanted to develop, I wanted to grow. And Ashley, when she first brought me on, I remember thinking, I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't know. I've not even thought about being in the digital marketing world. I'm old for this. I don't even have an Instagram. I just remember thinking, how am I going to learn? And Ashley just from the beginning reassured me, I got you. You're a mom. I get that. I'm a mom. We're all moms. And that comes first and foremost. And I have found reassurance in that because, of course, as somebody being out of the workforce for so long, I was insecure a bit. I wasn't I wasn't quite confident in where I would shine. And I just wanted to do well. I wanted to find my strengths again. And over the last 2 years, I've evolved in my position because Ashley knows us personally and professionally. She's able to really empower us based on what our skill sets are. And that is something you just can't find anywhere. And I think that alone helps us be, really great ambassadors for our clients because we're real. We're real. And there is no pretending that, yes, we are moms and it gets ugly, but she's right. Like I don't have that guilt of, can I get to a kid's doctor's appointment? Can I run and pick them up if they're home, if they need to come home? So that's something that I don't know that I would have been able to find on my own. I just really never knew that I would find myself in this position. And I think that Ashley has helped us all just find a way through and navigate and just capitalize on what it is we do best. And it's being a mom and developing professionally.
I'll need to introduce you, if you don't know Jen Burwell already. She is the founder for Mother Founder Company, and she was originally the VP for Max 6, the co-work space here, but she's just recently left. She was a client of mine for years, and she's now stepping out and having these kinds of conversations and offering classes and that sort of thing. I know she's launching a podcast soon too, so we'll have to have you back for that conversation.
Oh, that would be great.
I would love to make that introduction because you both are speaking her language, and she has a special needs kiddo as well. Just started in public schools for the first time, and she's trying to navigate that whole experience. And she kept saying, he's doing so well, and I'm freaking out. Am I ready for this adjustment? And she has always worked at an office up until the pandemic, and then had to be home with the kids, of course, when everything was shut down. And so learning how to manage that. So I think you'll find great joy in getting to know my buddy Jen.
Great. Yeah, we'd love to meet
She's
her.
Always looking for speakers too. So, all right. So we've talked a little bit about company culture. What would additional teammates say that we haven't talked about yet around company culture? Is there any aspect of culture that we haven't hit on that would be important for our listeners?
Yeah. As a stay-at-home mom, and Sherry touched on this a little bit, but as a stay-at-home mom, you lose touch in that business confidence or that confidence in yourself. And you find yourself really indulged in parenting, which I get. And so from the beginning, I've always wanted to provide great marketing service, but now my passion is mentoring moms.
Oh, perfect.
Because it's a jump from being a stay-at-home mom. Almost everyone on the team, like Sherry mentioned, lacked that confidence. Like, I don't know if I can do this. And I know they can do it. So it's my job to push them out of their comfort, but hug them along the way, right? I want to nurture them, but I want to push them to do better and be better and learn and grow and do things that challenge them, not challenge them in their world of motherhood or as a wife, but challenge them personally in a business setting. And they always say they expect moms to work as if you don't have kids and be a mom as if you don't work. And I'm a huge component that there should be synergy. And I'm not a fan of the word balance because there's some days, and Sherry, you can attest to this too. There are some days that I am an incredible mom. I'm hands-on. Work is, it's on hold right now. We're on vacation. We're at a sports event. We're in this life of motherhood. And there are days where it's a grinder day. We've got deadlines. We've got things we need to focus on. We have got to focus just on work. And there are some days that there's a beautiful balance between both. But, it's hard. You have to understand that synergy. But spending that time with the team and helping them find themselves has been such an incredible blessing that I never thought I would unfold. I didn't know how much moms struggled with that because I've never not worked. So I never fell into that time period. So it's been that's probably the most passionate I'm about and that the team's about is we welcome new mothers that don't have that experience, that don't have that confidence yet. And watching them bloom is just such a beautiful thing.
I love that you spoke to mentorship. And I hear you speaking about it with regard to your team, right? And then, of course, your clients. Are you or have you developed like a mentor program for working moms? Are you doing that kind of thing as well formally? Is that in the works?
It is in the works, actually. I have an outline for a book that I'd love to tackle. I just haven't gotten there yet. You know, and selfishly, I did it just for my team. And then I've been asked to help different organizations with that balance because they're finding that stay-at-home moms is this pot of gold. They've all had professions before they became a mom, and they've given those up to sacrifice, to dedicate to their kids because their former jobs were not allowing that flexibility.
Right.
And it's like the talent that we have on this team is surreal. I mean, you got to know Sherry and her incredible experience. Like, I'm so blessed to find these women that have this talent that just was willing to let it go because of that, you know, that flexibility. So I really did hit the jackpot with finding this. And I would hire anybody, but it just seems that this job is really great for moms. And I get about 10 to 20 applications a month of moms wanting to enter the workforce that are hungry for it, that want that flexibility, but also want that responsibility of getting back into work.
I can't wait to hear about the book at some point when you're ready to talk about it. So we'll have you back. And remind me, I think that Robin is the one who introduced us, right? So shout out to Robin. I think you are our first guest that we've had once Rob and I connected. So thank you for taking advantage of being with us. But I always like to give a shout out to folks who are bringing us quality guests and quality conversations. Sherry, you mentioned you're from Milwaukee.
Yes.
Was it about 2 years ago that you first moved, or you've been here a little bit longer? Because I know you've been with the team for 2 years.
Right. We, my family and I actually moved here 7 years ago.
Okay.
Starting over, I thought, well, this is my opportunity to find work or to just find a new community. But again, I didn't know what that would look like because mothering does not stop. I knew my kids are school age, elementary. I knew I'd have to start navigating, new physicians, new medical systems, new schools. All of that was more work. And it's hard work, but something obviously I wanted to do. But there was that other side of me that was always just kind of searching. Not that I didn't feel whole as a mom by any means, but I just started to really believe things just needed to align themselves where they should. And that's exactly what happened here. I mean, as Ashley said, our team is so full of like-minded women. We all have our insecurities. We all have our strengths. And I think the fact that we can just be who we are as moms, wives, professionals, that is so empowering. That's where I think my confidence came from. Like I said, I never would have thought that I was going to be in the digital marketing world. Never. I mean, I have a marketing background, but that was a long time ago. And that was in the Midwest where I knew people. I had a community and a network. Here, I didn't have that. My parents live here. They actually retired here. And that's what brought us here because I knew I needed, extra assistance with our son. But again, the fact that I ended up being able to use my voice to write for the blog from a special needs mom perspective, and then to land, in the arena with Ashley, and then for her to say, we're doing digital marketing. And I remember having to look that up. Like, what does digital marketing mean? I mean, I'm obviously a consumer of it, but being on the other end is a whole new world.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. Some days I wake up and I think 2 years ago, when I first took on a position with Ashley, I would have never thought that I would have evolved to where I am now. And maybe Ashley,
oh, totally. Like, Sherry and like many others were like, I don't know about this. Like, this is such a new role. I'm like, you got it, girl. Come on, let's go. We're going to train you. You're going to fall. You're going to keep swimming. You're going to fall again. You're going to keep swimming. And now the things that she was stressed about 2 years ago, she can do in her sleep. And she's efficient and she's good at it. And it's so easy. So now it's building that relationship that she trusts that, okay, you're right. I'm comfortable in this. So I'm ready to grow. I'm ready to get uncomfortable again. And I always tell my team that it's okay to be uncomfortable. That's where growth happens.
Yeah.
And I don't like it when I'm not uncomfortable, because if I'm not uncomfortable, I'm not moving the needle forward for this business and for my team. So get there and don't get complacent, because if I throw things at them all the time. Like, you seem like you're getting comfortable and content. We're going to switch it up.
So
Because that's the business, right? Social media and digital so fast. It's so fast. You work so hard. What you posted yesterday, it's no longer relevant. Got to move on. So I'm constantly challenging them. So it's been fun to see Sherry, grow in this and have that confidence that she didn't have 2 years ago.
For our moms that might be listening who are either in a position right now and they have to go to work every day and they're struggling to find the blend between their work life and their home life, or perhaps for the stay-at-home mom who's been thinking about doing something, what would you recommend? Are there some first things they ought to consider as they're making a transition? I'm not just specifically speaking to digital marketing, of course. It's okay that we build that around it. But what advice would you have for someone who's in a position who just says, I need that other side of me, or the other side of me isn't blending with my family life and I've got to make a change?
Great question. And a lot of this are questions that I ask in my interview. So when I interview people, because I want to know about their experience and their history, but I also want to know more about the person, because that's really what's going to retain well with our company, with our culture. So I ask, what kind of support do they have at home? Because a lot of women love this idea of working or the community, or they see like we do a lot of fun stuff. I call it work perks. Like, we get to go to events and all this fun stuff. So oftentimes moms see this and they're like, I want that community. But what they don't see is the hours and hours of work that lead up to these moments, right? So I always ask them, what kind of support do they have at home? If they are married, does their spouse support them going back to work? Because at the end of the day, we all have 24 hours a day. So if you're going to work, that is going to take the place of something. It could be sleep. It could be time with your husband. It could be time with your kids. And I try not to sugarcoat that, because oftentimes on social, it shows people typing on a computer with their kids playing so nicely in the background.
Right.
We joke, we want to have a photo shoot of what it's really like. Messy bun. Like, it looks like a bomb went off in the playroom. Yeah. There's snacks everywhere. Like, that's really what it's like. And so I talk to them about what that support looks like. Because if they are married and their spouse is not on board, it's not going to work.
Right.
And we feel that pushback, and they ending up don't work out with our community because they're going to have to sacrifice some things. So I think women need to have that understanding and really look deep on what they're willing to sacrifice or give up, per se, to focus on this type of career. Because, that's one good thing of having an 8 to 5 is you're an 8 to 5. You've got set hours, your work life, you've got it structured. But the women that are in that type of environment that want to work from home, you have to have that willingness to work. You have to have that go-getter attitude, because someone's not going to be over your shoulder harping on you to get it done. You have to be proactive in getting it done. So those are a lot of the questions that I ask to make sure that they are ready and have that support to make a jump into an industry or any, work from home position.
I'm also hearing a level of responsibility and organization, and maybe someone doesn't come with those skill sets all polished, but given the team that you've already established, you guys are willing to say, hey, here's how we can help you create a plan of action so that you can get life taken care of, but also serve our clients well, because there's no room for not serving clients well.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I get everybody a notebook with their name on it. Although we're digital, I'm old school. I have my to-do list, right? I call it my Bible. I have to, like, if I leave it at home, I have my husband open it and take a picture of it. I'm like, you need to take a picture of it. He's like, you don't remember what you wrote down? I'm like, that's my day. I need it. Yeah. And so I teach them how to use that book and how to write everything down. And I want you to write personal stuff down, because I don't want you to forget to make dentist appointments or doctor's appointments. How do you have that synergy? And, our minds as moms, it's like having 100 tabs open at a time on your computer. It's overwhelming at times. So if you put it all down on paper and organize it by priorities, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel like you've got a grasp on what that day-to-day looks like. And so I've done that, and a lot of our team takes advantage of that. Sherry, I know you do.
Oh, for sure. I have many filled notebooks.
Oh, yes.
We love getting new notebooks, because there's two things that I have really taken that I think has helped me become successful in these last years. A pending list is one thing Ashley has taught us, and pivot. And that obviously is became more critical in this last year or so. But a pending list, like Ashley said, we have all these tabs open. As a mom, as somebody who used to be able to, kill it in the workforce every day, I wanted to get everything done every single day. Reality is just not possible. Like she said, we have 24 hours. And what's going to give? My time with my kids, my health, my, mental well-being, what do I want to sacrifice? But fortunately, I have a good support network. Like Ashley mentioned, it's critical. And as moms, we learn how to become resourceful, right? We learn, when do we need to call up for help? We have to, even if it's for the littlest things. When do we call for help? When do we use our resources? When do we use, when do we ask for help from grandparents or friends? When do we have to rely on the paper and pencil notebook versus all the tabs open in our head? And that is what I had to really retrain myself to realize, Sherry, you can't get everything done in a day. You want more, but what are you willing to give? And then pivoting was the other thing that I think I had to become comfortable with, because I've, traditionally have been like a one track, I have a goal. I'm going to get there. I'm going to do whatever it takes. That's not always possible. Life happens. COVID happened. We have children and messes happen. Things happen. I also have, an autoimmune disorder that challenges me quite frequently. I have to make room for that. And I have to be okay with giving myself a little wiggle room and realizing, okay, I'm going to have to just put that on my pending list, or oops, I got to pivot now and wear all the hats, but realize I can't just throw them all to the side. I have, at the end of the day, I know I did the best I could with what I had. And those are the resources that I've had to learn. And I think the rest of the team, those of us that have been successful in the team, have learned that, use your resources. They're there for you. As a working mom or a mom that's been out of the workforce for so long, I forgot. I was doing everything at home for my kids. Everything I had was put into my family. Then I realized, well, what do I need, and what resources do I have, or what can I use to be more full, or to feel, just more fulfilled. And that's key. And our team is really good at encouraging each other to use those resources and to know when you need to make that a pending or make that, pivot.
I love that. Daryl and I, our producer, just had a meeting yesterday, and we're going through our task list. And I was showing him, I prioritize things A, B, C, right? So A is it's got to get done today. B is it would be great if it could, but it doesn't have to. It's not the end of the world. And C is it's on this list. We're going to get to it at some point, but it's not a priority, right? And then I'll go back in and I'll number them, each of the letters as well. So similar, but I love the way that you've termed it as well. And I've been doing that since I was a Kyrene School District assistant principal. I also worked at Intel. It was a business school partnership back in early 90s. And I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember the Franklin Planner back then.
Yes.
But
yes.
I said, oh my gosh, I went to my first Intel training, and I have always loved organization. My master's degree is in organizational development. But I sat in that class and got my planner, much like your notebook, and sat through this 3-hour course. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is an amazing way to brain dump, get everything out of my mind that floats up in there, and put some structure to it with some flexibility and the ability to pivot when I need to. And that's been since the early 90s, and I've still use a form of that today.
I had a printed calendar when I met my husband 12 years ago, and he's in technology. So he's like, Ashley,
at some point,
I gotta go digital. I'm like, no, I'm not ready yet. It's color coded.
Yes.
I can't. So finally I made the jump, and I think he regrets it because I sent him a calendar invite for everything. And he loves to mess with me because I'll send him an invite for Thanksgiving dinner. But in the notes, it says what we're bringing. So it's important to send the invite, and he'll decline it just to mess with me. So I'm very calendar. And if you don't use a pending list, Karen, try it. It's a game changer because there's so many things where I don't have to do anything on it, but it still needs to get done. So I don't want it to fall through the cracks. So then I throw it on my pending list. I'll check on my pending list at least once a week where I'm like, okay, I gave this task to Sherry. I want to make sure that this is done. So I'll check, hey, Sherry, we talked about this. Did you get it done? Yep, it's completed. Great. I'll cross it off my pending list.
I'll tell you where and I don't call it a pending list, but I'll tell you where my ongoing list like that is. Having been a teacher and an educator for years, those big easels, the big white paper, I have in my bedroom 3 or 4 of them. And it's just this list of things. Here's work stuff, for the studio, here's for my coaching practice, here's for my son and I, and I just make sure, and it usually has an in progress, an IP next to it if I'm moving on it. And if not, I got to get it in progress.
Man.
So yes, I'm very visual. So I have to have that sitting up there, and it has to be big for some reason. So yeah, I love it. I can't get myself, I mean, we use that online calendar. But as far as the task list, I call it a to-do, to-da list. I have a hard time not having it be paper and pencil. Yeah.
I know. Well,
It works.
We're one of us.
Yeah. Why change something if it's working?
That's right.
What else would you, for those listeners, right? So this is Business RadioX, and we really do have a lot of B2B listeners. Who is a good client for you then? We've already talked about the types of industries that you serve. Are you looking for more clients, always looking for more clients? And how do you know, we talked about interviewing an employee. What kind of interview do you have? What kind of questions do you have for a potential client?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, and we've really defined that process because we need to make sure that it's a great relationship. We really get entrenched in the culture and community of their business. So making sure that we're a good fit and they're a good fit is really important. So really, our focus is finding businesses that can capitalize on that online market, which is pretty much every business, right? So we dive into what they're doing for marketing currently, what has worked, what hasn't worked, what have they done digitally. Some have zero digital footprint whatsoever. They've never checked a Google review. They've never claimed their Yelp page. They've never developed these social media pages. Obviously, those are really low-hanging fruit for us because we can make an impact very quickly. And then what are their goals, right? So some clients are selling things. So our goal is to get their attention on these social platforms, but yet get them off of the platform and onto their website to make a transaction, buy something, book something. But then we also have clients that just want to have that engagement and that community online. So those different angles we handle very differently. So we dive into what their goals are. And so we've worked with small boutiques that we want to get off the website, off social media onto their website to buy something. We work with cleaning companies and moving companies that they are booking services or they're hiring. So we really try to develop what their strategy is based on what their needs are. There are some businesses, sometimes attorneys or financial companies, they're a little bit like mortgage companies are a little bit harder just because of their restrictions that they have. So those we've navigated and we've worked really well with those, more on the consumer facing. But we talk through what we think would be a good plan of action for them and make sure it aligns with their company. And if it does, then we'd love to move forward. And if not, then we are happy to give referrals to other companies that we've worked with. We always want to leave them with at least some tips. Even if they're a lot of like small one-man band companies will come. Like we've had real estate agents call us that are just one single agent. They're usually not a great fit because they don't have the financial means to pay for our services. So, but once again, I don't ever want them to walk away without anything. So I meet with them and give them several nuggets and to-do lists and things for them to do and tell them, hey, I want you to get to a point where you need us. So let me help get you there. Here are some things to get you started. Here are some things to make sure that you're on the right track for that digital growth.
Anything you'd add?
Ashley's often used the analogy, it's kind of like dating. You really, sometimes you know exactly what you want and sometimes you don't. And sometimes you might be, pleasantly surprised. But it's a lot like just kind of courting, figuring out what someone's quirks are. Have they looked down this? Are they open to ideas? Whether it's, from a realtor or to a shopping mall, it's very much the same. You want to make sure that you could gel and that you're on the same page, but with opportunity to learn from each other. So that's how I look at it too. Because again, if I'm taking on a client that I have very little experience in that industry specifically, it's my opportunity to get to learn more, and it's their opportunity to learn more about themselves as well. So that's it's a nice analogy that we've used.
Yeah.
And given that you're digital, are your clients particularly or usually Arizona based, or are they all over the country? What is your preference?
Yeah, all over the country.
Yeah.
We're nationwide now, which is great. But a lot of our small to medium businesses are referrals or relationships that we have. And so a lot of them are here. Our shopping centers are all across the nation, and we're getting more referrals from businesses. You know, that the marketing company doesn't do much marketing, to be honest, because we are so relational. So we get a lot of referrals, which we love. You know, we want to do right by them. And our slogan is always above and beyond. And so we are always that. You know, if there's something that needs to be done and we have the tools and resources to do it, we're going to do it. So very rarely do I give the, you know, oh, that's not in our scope of work. It's really important for us to help them where they need it. And so there's a lot of resources and things that we do that may not be in their contract, but need to get done. Let us jump in and help. Let's do it right. Let's make sure, you know, graphic design is a great example of that. Sometimes they'll send us something with information. We're like, ooh, that's not good. That's not looking good. Can we redo this? And, you know, 99% of the time they're like, oh, we'd love that, please. And so we'll refresh it for them and send it back. So it's those little things that are important in a relationship that we, you know, and that's why even during the pandemic, we had 2 clients put us on hold. That's it. And they were like, let's dig in. We need to get through this together. And really during the pandemic, we became a lifeline for a lot of businesses. I was just going
to say, I've heard more businesses saying they finally said, we've got to be out there digitally. So I was, you know, I'm always surprised to hear when people pulled back, but people do it for a variety of reasons. Tell me a little bit about you mentioned that you're really around content and engagement and the relationship and the voice, right, on behalf of your clients. And you also do some ads and help with ad spends. I'm just curious from my business perspective, it appears that I'm this big, robust company because it's business and it's podcasting and radio. But really, at the end of the day, it is me and my small but mighty team. And we really haven't spent, I don't think, any money on ads. I wonder if that's hindering us. Do you have an opinion? And it doesn't have to be for my specific question, but how important are you finding that, at least on Facebook, let's say, that ads are for businesses? Sometimes I look to see where our engagement is, and it's so low. I know that I used to own a social media company, so I know that we're doing those right things, but am I being penalized if I'm not doing ads, if I'm not paying for ads?
Yes, you are. You know, these platforms are free. Right? So sometimes you have to pay to play. So every client, whether it's a $100 a month budget or $3,000 a month budget, we have an ad budget for every client because it helps move the needle, you know, and there's a lot of things you can do organically that you don't have to pay for, you know, tagging businesses, tagging individuals, encouraging, you know, instead of saying, wow, look at my dress, you can say, what color shoes should I wear with this dress? Because everybody has an opinion. And if they can share it on social, they're going to. So, you know, positioning your content that it's more of a conversation versus show and tell is going to be important. But having some ad strategy is really important. We do it in several different ways. One is engagement. You can do even simple boosts on your posts to help increase the amount of people that are seeing your content. That is number one. So if you have a strong for people like you that may not have, you know, a lot of resources to do all those ads, if you find a post that's doing well organically, I would boost that.
Oh, that's smart.
Because people are loving that content, show it to more people so more people can love on that content. So that is definitely one strategy we do. You know, having longer term ads, whatever your goals are, is it page growth? You can do a like campaign on Facebook, and you can even show it to certain audiences. Like you can show it to friends of people who already follow your page. So if I'm following your page and Sherry isn't, Sherry can then see that ad and it'll say Ashley Richards plus 5 friends, you know, like this page. And so there's instantly a connection and a relationship where Sherry can say, wow, I see Ashley liking this page. I'm going to go like it. So there's a lot of different strategies on ads, but I would definitely have some sort of ad strategy. Looking at your analytics is really important. You know, we use Sprout Social. We're a preferred agency with them. So we dive into really deep analytics for clients. And we always tell clients, it's not necessarily up to us or really up to you on what you're posting that does well. It's up to your audience and your consumers.
So you have to pay attention to that.
You have to pay attention to that. And it's different for each platform. Your top posts on Facebook will most likely not be your top posts on Instagram.
Right.
So understanding what content is doing well, what content isn't, and making those adjustments month after month. You know, with the moving company, we did a funny video And it was by far the top post on their page. And so we're sprinkling in a lot more humor in their page because it did
worked.
so well. It worked.
Yeah.
So understanding that and understanding your demographics, the moving company, they're all big, buff men that are moving, but their number one audience is women. So
because they're big buff men.
Probably. And so we've talked about, instead of just promoting that, we've now introduced the team. The owners are two men that are married. They're Christians. They're incredible dads and husbands. So we want to give personality and relationship to them. They're going into their homes. So get to know them, right? These are great stand-up men. This is who they are. Yeah. And so developing that and having those conversations online where we can introduce them has been really powerful.
Yeah. And Sherry, anything that you'd add to that?
I think you actually touched on most of it, that there's a strategy. And the clients that, of course, we want them to have a goal, but we're the experts in building that strategy. And again, we're kind of dating, kind of figuring out, but that's our job. It's our goal. Our goal is to develop that strategy that the numbers will speak for themselves, hopefully, right? Whether it's sales or service or like Ashley mentioned, the analytics, the numbers will speak, but trust that we are here to build that strategy for your benefit.
And it's not a sprint. It's a marathon, right?
It's a marathon.
Correct.
Yeah.
We talk a lot. I'm so glad. I was just about to say that. We're on the same page.
Should have let you do it.
No, I love it. Because it's true. It's definitely a marathon. The clients that have been with us the longest are reaping the most benefit right now.
Because you've got to know each other, right? Yeah, you've dialed it in.
Yeah. And even with ads, it's testing, right? So we'll come up with, okay, their goal is to get more traffic to their website. Like, let's use you, for example. Your goal is to book more business owners. We'd put together 3 different content strategies on how to invite people in, 3 different photos, and run 3 different ads that are all really the same goal in mind, and see which one performs the best. And it's shocking sometimes to see which one is getting the highest click-through, which one's the highest conversion, and all that takes time to test, which is performing well. What call to action's performing well. So it's a lot of testing, and same with the content, right? It depends on what's been done before. If you're starting from ground zero, you don't have any digital presence, then we need to build that. We need to build that community, build that trust, build that content. So it definitely is a marathon, not a sprint. I mean, you can turn ads on quickly and see results pretty quickly, but to keep things consistent and keep those growth going and that conversion growing, it is a marathon.
And to Sherry's point, if you're not strategically aware of kind of why are these working and know how to continue doing it in that vein, then it's just a hit or miss.
Yeah. And be prepared to pivot, right? So last year when the pandemic hit, we were deep into Easter Bunny season, right?
Yeah,
Easter, everyone meet and greet for Easter Bunny. We've got, Easter egg hunts. We've got photos with the Easter Bunny, and we had to unwind all that and repivot.
Because it wasn't happening.
And our restaurant clients, right? We had to pull the plug and be like, okay, take out delivery. Oh, wait. No, you're allowed, on the patios now. Patios now. Let's develop content. We need to promote the patio. Oh, wait, now you can come indoors. It's just, I remember every time Ducey would speak, we would, and really all governors, we would just patiently wait and figure out what protocols he was putting in place, and we would jump.
Yep. How do we articulate that to our clients and their customers?
Yes. And no one knew. None of us had any heads up on what kind of restrictions were going to go into play. So we would just watch and we're like, okay, you can't dine in right now. All right, let's go. Yep. And it was like 8:00 at night on a Thursday. Well, guess what? By Friday morning, all that content was switched out.
Gosh, I bet your clients were so grateful, is not only all the time, but especially during this crazy time where they're laying in bed awake, wondering, especially our restaurant friends, how are we getting, even shopping malls for that matter, right? I mean, I don't think any industry was not untouched, most of which folks were concerned about staying in business. Some had more business than they could handle because they were helping, do other things. But I'm sure they're grateful for you and your team being there and offering strategy and opportunity to say, well, you weren't coming back and saying, well, you said you were going to have the Easter Bunny. We're sticking with that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are some agencies who may have said, hey, well, this is already content done. And you're like, scrap it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's make the change.
We don't have time.
Right.
We wanted to deliver. And their head spinning, trying to figure out what they need to do at their restaurant to get ready for whatever guidelines they had. Yeah. we just took it and run with it and say, we changed all your content. Here's your new content.
So good.
Like overnight, and that was big.
Impressive.
Another area that we grew in, which I never thought we'd ever do, was virtual events. So we work with a lot of nonprofits, and we were about a month away from I was on the board for a nonprofit, and it was an in-person event. And we can't do that, but these nonprofits still need the money.
Right.
They still need to fundraise. So we helped 10 different virtual events help with their promotions online in the last 18 months, where we are getting people engaged and registered to attend this virtual event and donate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been incredible to see these organizations still fundraise, still raise so much money, and really have less overhead because they don't have to worry about the fancy tablecloth and the entertainment and the steak dinner. And so helping those nonprofits became an arm of services that we provided that I never thought was there. And it all started because I was on the board, or I was on the committee planning this event. And I'm like, we're going virtual. I'm happy to help. Yeah. Let's get the promotions out there. Let's do this. And so that's where it all started. So that's wrapping up now. We have one more virtual event. Mm-hmm. But it's also caused an aha moment for nonprofits of going more hybrid. So I get the question a lot, where are events going? And we've got this new variant. We still have a lot of unknown. And that's where they're going, is this hybrid model.
We have to.
And they should, because, even when COVID's behind us, you should do a hybrid model, because you can touch way more people online, get way more brand exposure online than just a room of 100 people.
Yeah.
So that's been pretty critical for nonprofits to understand the value of that and taking advantage of the tools that these platforms have for nonprofits. They have donation tools where you don't have to, if you donate $100 through Facebook, all $100 goes to that nonprofit. There's no servicing fees whatsoever. But setting that up, really embracing these platforms is the critical part of getting the benefits of those donations. So it's been fun to help these nonprofits, stay thriving during this too.
Find their way.
Yeah.
And I've had the opportunity to be on some of these projects for virtual events and hybrid. There's no handbook for what do virtual events look like? What does a hybrid look like? Is it going to change next month? I mean, there just truly was no handbook, but I had the opportunity to build that story, build the voice and the face behind the nonprofit with the goal in mind to raise money, to increase awareness. And so it was really a learning experience for me, as well as obviously the nonprofit. But at the end of the day, their goal is their best interest is what we had in mind, and I feel like they were all very successful because of that.
Yeah. And I can't imagine that they would have been able to do it without the savviness of your team and the ability to help them just step right into it. Just a general question I had. When you two were growing up and you were, little girls playing on the playground, or maybe even later on in middle school or high school, you had mentioned let's start with Sherry. You said, I would never have thought that I would have landed here. And I'm so grateful that I am. But who did you see yourself being? What was your career aspiration when you were young?
I wanted to be a working mom, and I wanted to be a mom of 3, which I am, but a corporate professional.
Strictly.
Yes. Yeah. I thought that I would be, in a suit, in a boardroom, 9 to 5. I'd have everything would just be perfectly aligned. And I would just, climb the ladder and I'd just be successful. But what that meant, I don't know. I mean, I went to school, I got my degree, and I have a master's in business administration. So I saw a path, but didn't realize there's so many things that get in your way. So yeah, to be a working mom in a boardroom, no, that's not happening. But I feel like I'm empowered in so many other ways. Yeah. So yeah, it's amazing.
So it sounds like you have fulfilled, what you envisioned yourself to be. You certainly have landed there. It just didn't look, it doesn't look like you're in the high-rise building downtown Phoenix or New York or Chicago.
It's much more exciting.
Much more glamorous. Yes. And I'm hearing that you have, what Ashley you've provided is that your team has a lifestyle. You've created a lifestyle business.
Yes.
Right? I know that term is overused, but that's what I'm hearing consistently, that you get to shine in all the areas that you can shine in and have a life outside of what would normally be a demanding career for a businesswoman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Ashley, how about you? Once
that
upon a time.
That's such a great question too. And I loved Sherry. I loved your answer. So I'm going to ask that for my team on our team meeting because I love it. So my parents divorced when I was really young, and I had a pretty tough upbringing. So I've always had an entrepreneur mind. I always knew that I wanted to take matters into my own hands. My mom was a hairstylist, so I would clean up all the hair and she'd give me money. I remember my stepdad worked in the oil industry, and so I would go in his office and I would file all his papers, and thinking back, they were creating jobs for me because I would be bugging them. What can I do to make money? I would clean the pool. I always had this workaholic mindset that always just became something that was important to me. I worked in commercial real estate for a long time before I got into the marketing side, before I started my own business as well. And so it's a very fast-paced environment. But I always knew I wanted to be my own boss. I always knew that. I always knew that I wanted that lifestyle because I saw people around me that had that made me hungry for it. I didn't know what it was going to be. Honestly, it was probably about 20 years ago that I was like, I love marketing. I love online. I love conversation. I'm an extreme extrovert. So this is my jam. But I've always had that entrepreneur mindset.
Last question for you. Is there a book or a person in your life that has been very influential, either somebody you know personally or that you've just kind of followed and watched their videos or whatever, or is there a book that's been very influential in your life, either around motherhood or just, self-care or business specifically?
I'll go first.
Ashley's looking at you like, go, Sherry.
I really enjoy Brene Brown.
Yes, of course.
Love Brene Brown, The Gifts of Imperfection, Daring Greatly, because I feel like I can take what she has in her books or her podcasts and it relates to all different parts of my life. And her message of being vulnerable, it is so true. I mean, we all want to look strong and we all want to be strong and we all want to look like we have everything together all the time. But it's not until I feel it's not until we're vulnerable do we really learn or grow or meet people that we maybe have not had an opportunity to meet before. It's just in that vulnerability is where I think I've grown. And so I really enjoy, I read her books over and over. And every once in a while, I'll pull little things out and remind a friend about it or whatever. But I do enjoy Brene quite a bit.
Yeah. She's very down to earth and brilliant. Yes.
Yeah, I love her too.
And very relatable. Good. Thank you for sharing.
I will say a person. I have a mentor. Her name is Najla Kayam. She lives here in the Valley. She's a VP of marketing for a big shopping center group. But I've worked for her for many years. And, when I was working with her, I wasn't married. I had no kids. And she was married and had kids. And she was a working mom. So I took a lot of what she did during that period and instilled it in my life. And she's still my mentor. When I get in a tough spot or I have a business question, where I'm like, I don't have experience in this. Like, how do I, navigate this? She's always my first call. So her for sure. And then from a business side, I'm in entrepreneur organization. I'm in the accelerator program, and it's all entrepreneurs. And it has been a pot of gold for me. I've been in it for a year. I have scrubbed our processes internally. It's allowed me the tools that I've needed to help work on my business and not just in it all the time. I'm a marketing professional. I've never owned a business before this. So having that growth over years, year after year, and understanding what that looks like has been extremely valuable. So those are definitely my go-tos for sure.
Good. So how do we stay in touch with E Squared Marketing? And so you're always growing? Are you always looking to add more members to your team?
We are. We're in a really high growth pattern right now, which is great. So we're constantly interviewing. We're constantly on-ramping new potential, team members. So if they're interested, we do have a submission form on our website, which is esquaredmarketing.com. They can follow me on Instagram. We're on E Squared Marketing, or Ashley Richards AZ is my personal. I get a lot of messages from business and employment through that. So I'm happy to connect with anybody through there.
Great. And so is there a way to have a business owner who would be interested in talking about having you help them with digital? There's a form on your website as well for that.
There is.
Very good. I would assume so. I'm glad to hear that. Good. Thank you both so much. Sherry, are you still doing your blog? Is that out there and available, or is it?
I have a lot of blog ideas in my head, if that makes sense.
Sure.
A lot of little chapters. Something I want to revisit for sure.
Yeah, very
for
good.
Sure.
Well, when we have your book and when you're out there blogging again specifically for one of or many of these ideas, we'd love to have you both back.
We'd love that.
Awesome. Thank you again. You've been listening to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting from the Max 6 Entrepreneurial Center right here in Tempe, Arizona. Some media leans left, some lean right, and we lean business. Until next time, I'm Karen Nowicki. Thanks for listening.